These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers. Welcome to The Beautiful Bag. This is your host, LeeAnne Hayden, cancer survivor, and more importantly, ostomy lifer. Each and every week, I'm going to be bringing a special guest or some inspiration for you and a few little stories along the way so that you can learn what life is like for us to be living in an ostomy and why we all think it's a beautiful bag. So listen in and let's get started. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's The Beautiful Bag podcast. I am your host, LeeAnne Hayden. This week, I am bringing to you our special guest. Her name is Chium. We met on Instagram. I saw her on there with her ostomy, but working out, doing all that fun stuff that you guys know I love. And I was like, oh, I need to know this girl. I need to know her. She is being an inspiration out there. So, Chium, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, excited to hear your story, excited to get to know you a little more. I know we were talking a little bit earlier about, what it's like now that Instagram's out there and people are talking more openly and how it opens doors for all of us to feel more comfortable and have a community. But, let's talk about your story. You said 3 years now with your ostomy?
Yes. So when I had my ostomy, it was an emergency situation. I was in the hospital. It was a pretty rough year. It was in 2018 and in and out of the hospital, just dealing with my Crohn's and the flares and not in a really great place at all. And it was a routine or supposed to be a routine colonoscopy. But unfortunately, during the procedure, my colon was perforated. So that's why I had to have it put in. So I had no opportunity to prepare mentally for it at all. So it was really a shock. And I've had it since then. And fortunately, I have been able to live a much better quality of life than I did before, or I thought I was capable of. So in a way, it has really turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So, because usually people have at least some kind of an idea that this is happening. And is your ostomy, is it a colostomy or an ileostomy?
Mine is an ileostomy.
Okay. And it's permanent?
Well, that remains to be seen.
Okay.
Yeah, at the moment when the surgery was completed, it was with the idea of it being temporary just because of the issues that popped up. However, I do still need to go through the whole procedure of being assessed and seeing if that is something that can be reversed. But as of right now, it's with me. It's gonna be there for a little bit.
There you go. Now let's talk about this. You go in for a standard procedure, all of a sudden it's emergency and you're waking up and you have an ileostomy. Had you ever even thought that this would be an option? Had you ever done any research on what this was about? Or was it just a total surprise? Like, whoa, hey, what now?
Okay. Yes, it was like a complete surprise. And it's one of those things that that it could be a possibility, but you never really fully expect it to become reality. I did realize that I wasn't in a great position. I was really, really doing poorly. So based on what was happening with my bowels and everything, that was a thought that was definitely in the back of my mind. And I did have previous conversations with one of my gastros, and she did mention these are things that could happen, but I never really delved into it to say I did research. I knew what it was. I knew it was there looming, but never really delved into it. So yes, it was a complete surprise being woken up under anesthesia and them saying, okay, we're putting you back under for surgery. And it trying to explain to me what was going on while still being very, very groggy from anesthesia.
Right. Yeah,
So
that must have been tough.
it was a shock. It really was a shock. I think not having that time to research and understand what it was and understand how it could benefit me really kind of held me back at first. And I was wallowing for quite a while.
So
But
let's talk
then,
about the wallowing. Like, what did you do during those times to hold yourself together mentally? Because we know it's a physical thing. And a lot of us talk about, yes, it's a physical thing, but it is almost more so a mental thing that we have to go through. There's a whole mental process that we go through. Like, let's talk about that a little bit. Coming up, you're waking up, now you have this. And like you said, you were wallowing a little bit. What were some of the things that you did?
I definitely was wallowing because, like you said, it's mental. It's more, for me, your body changing so drastically and having something that is synthetic now part of you that is not really a positive thing in most people's eyes. Face it, nobody likes to talk about poop.
No, but amazing. You know, what's amazing is now that we have this community, it's great that we all get together and we get to talk on a podcast and we get to talk about poop. And we get it and we understand each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's this huge stigma outside of this community. It's a huge stigma. It's like, it's a regular bodily function. Everyone does it. But it's almost like no one wants to admit they do it. So that stigma is attached now to you having this attachment to you. And it's that mental hurdle that you have to get over. It's like this is not taking away from you. This is not making you less of who you were. You're not less of a woman. You're not less of anything. And I don't know if men go through the same thing, but I know for women, me personally, it was this huge wall. Like, oh my God, my attractiveness, my sex appeal, my just me being it took a huge hit. My pride, everything took a huge hit.
So now what did you do for that? Yeah. So what did you do through that though? I mean, we have to go through the grieving process, right? There's the 5 steps and we go through those, but you know, I see you now 3 years later, and you're out there, you're going to the gym, you're living your life to the fullest, but what did you do like to get yourself through that?
At first there was nothing I was doing. I was just sitting in my self-pity, just sitting in it and feeling bad and going through the motions, not really being present. I had to do it because I had to do it. I am a mom, I have kids. So it was like, okay, you have to do this in order to take care of the other parts of your life. So that's pretty much where I was. I was just like going through the motions. And it got to a point where it became such an effortless process that somehow it just clicked. This is not a big deal. Somehow. I don't know when, I don't know what happened, but it just clicked. This is not a big deal. You're doing this and you've been doing this. This is not a big deal. And I think that was the first part of me starting to get over that hit my pride took. And from there, I just decided, you know what? You've been dealt this card. You can either continue to sit and wallow, or you can choose to do something. And I decided to choose to do something. My motivation, definitely my kids, because I didn't want to see them suffer because I was wallowing, nor did I want to take away from their life because I was wallowing.
Right. Kids can do that to you. Kids really can pull you through the toughest things, you know, because especially as moms, we want to put our best foot forward for them. You know, they look up to us. They look up to us, and we have to show them this is how we can live life, and you got to live it. So now you have that click.
when did you start going on social media and seeing like, whoa, there's a whole bunch of people out here? Because I think that's where we're all finding each other all of a sudden. It's like, whoa, there's a ton of us out here.
Yeah, it's funny because before this happened to me, I wasn't active on social media at all. Well, Facebook with family, and that was pretty much the extent of my social media. Because I think I felt so isolated. And when I did have that click, I was like, you know what? I definitely am not the only person going through this, because there are companies dedicated to the upkeep of individuals. If not, then I would be crafting my own products. So there is that told me that the common sense part of the business aspect told me there are more people out there. So I was like, to me, I'm like, you know what? I know how I felt going through this. I would like for someone else who is in this situation to maybe avoid just a little bit of what I had to go through. So that's why I started on Instagram and trying to like just post anything I could. And through doing that for myself, and I started discovering the Ostomates and stuff like that. So me posting allowed me to then discover other individuals. So
isn't that amazing? And I think and sometimes, at least I know from people that I've talked to in the past, it's being able to share your own personal journey and story is healing in a way for yourself. Yeah. And then you become that hero for someone else, that inspiration for someone else to be able to step through it. But I love what you said. You started posting first, and then you started seeing, whoa, there's a community out here. There's like, and again, like you said, there are medical companies. There are 3 top medical companies that are huge, that just focus on ostomy. I mean, ostomies. There are, I don't know if you know this stat, but there are 750,000 to 1 million people in the US alone with ostomies. In the US.
I did not know the number, but recently I discovered it was a large number. And I'm here thinking, okay, no, maybe it's a smaller community. Like we said, nobody likes to talk about this. So I was like, okay, maybe it's a small community. But I remember seeing something somewhere, and I was just blown away by the number of people living with this. And for me, it kind of was a sad moment, because we love to talk about everything else in our daily lives, but something so important and that so many people are living with is so hidden. And I felt kind of sad about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. And now it's like, it is sad because people, again, it's not talked about, but we're starting to, and we're starting to say it's okay. And it's not an older demographic. The demographic, which is what, when I first started mine, I was like, I'm too young. I'm only 44. Like, I do fitness competitions. I'm in a bikini all the time. Like, heck no, like that's not happening to me. And again, so I get your whole, the body image and your sexuality and being a woman and all of that. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, you know what? This isn't an older person issue. There's a ton of young people.
I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's part of the stigma, because we feel like, no, this is something older people deal with, and that adds to the shame. It's like you're young and you're having older people issues, or that's probably not the best way of saying it, but it's part of the stigma. You're like, you feel broken a little bit, and you feel like you've aged maybe 20 years faster than you should have. And I thought about that. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to have to change my diet, which you do end up changing your diet and stuff, but like you're freaking out thinking about these things. You're like, oh my God, prune juice. And it's all of those older people things that you're thinking about. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely understand that. But I did see your pictures about your fitness competition, and it was funny that you do that also, because it was actually during my discovery of the community. It was actually another bodybuilder, a woman that I discovered.
Zoe Wright.
Yep. And she just blew me away. And that was like one of the major building blocks for me, to see her and compete the way she did, that was like,
Yep.
okay, that was my cornerstone.
Yep. And she's amazing. And she has been, she was an inspiration to me in the beginning as well. And we started following each other when I was prepping for my show. And I used to do competitions prior to my ostomy, right?
Oh.
And then it was 2 years after my ostomy, I couldn't get the weight. I had cancer for mine, but I couldn't get the weight off. My hormones were a mess, my body. And I'm like, I'm getting on stage anyways. I mean, I got on stage 15 pounds heavier than I am today, but I was like, I don't care. I need to send a message, and her and I connected there. But it's a wonderful thing to see someone else. And again, like you said, you watch someone else's journey, somebody else's journey helped you. Your journey is helping other people. So over the last 3 years, what are some of the things that you've done to, yes, it clicked. Yes, you started posting, but what are you doing now on a daily basis to really work on your health, to really, work on your messaging and your mental health too?
Okay. Like everybody else, we've got those days where you just don't want to do anything. So I'm not going to lie and say I have perfect days. I definitely do not. There are days that I want to just sit and veg out and not have to think about anything. And I think that also helps with my mental health, because you do need those days. You shouldn't have to be on the go and in that constant state of rush all the time. So those veg out days are important. And it's something that I've learned to do, because it's definitely not something I did before. I am kind of like an over planner, and I can get very much in my head. And so that helps a lot with my mental state. I try to have some time where if I'm tired, I try to do a better job of listening to myself and saying, you're mentally tired, you're mentally drained, take a break. It's okay.
Yep.
So that helps a lot.
That's a huge thing, especially with type A personalities or strong personalities, where we're go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, it's okay to sit on the couch and watch TV. It's okay to get a book and be comfortable. It's okay to not work out every day. It's actually not a good idea to work out every day.
Yes, my eldest son tells me, he's like, you never sit down on the couch. Oh my God, you're sitting down. Wow. So those kind of things, looking through other people's eyes, help me reflect on myself. And throughout these past 3 years, I've tried to be more self-reflective and really take a hard look at myself. It definitely started in the hospital when I was recovering from the ostomy, that whole wallowing process. But at the same time, I recognized that I needed to change the way I was eating. That was the first step for me, changing the way I was eating, approaching food in a more open mindset, things, and trying to figure out what worked for me. Because with Crohn's, it's not something that, okay, this is the set plan, this is your meal plan. You pretty much have to listen to your individual body and see what works for you. It's not going to work for everybody, but you have to listen to your own body. So I was like, okay, we need to do a little bit of homework here. So I started to research food and research things that may or may not. And I was like, okay, it's a may or may not game at this point. Let's see if this is positive or negative for myself. So I started with food, and starting with food opened the door for me to educate myself on other things. Exercise came next. I realized, okay, you're not active. This is probably playing a huge role in you being overstressed and inflamed and a bunch of other different things. So exercise was the second step. I decided, okay, you don't know what you're doing. You are a little bit controlling. You want to know what you're doing. So I started with the simple things like, okay, finding out about the gym, finding out about different exercises, maybe looking up a couple videos and trying to understand better. Okay, I'm going in, what is it I'm going to do? I then decided to start working with a personal trainer to feel more comfortable, because I was very uncomfortable at first. And I didn't want to do anything to possibly hinder myself because of the ostomy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's see if we can get someone to help us walk through this door.
Now, when you did that with the personal trainer, because I was just on a conference with a bunch of ostomies, and we were talking about this. Some people used physical therapists. Some people had to search hard to find someone who understood ostomies and hernias and how to protect yourself. How did you, how was your personal trainer knowledgeable in that area? Were they a little more gentle with how they worked with you?
As far as hernias and ostomies, I was definitely the first person he dealt with an ostomy. I did make sure he understood that I had it, and I explained to him what it was. And he kind of did a little bit of homework too, to try and understand exactly what it was. But
that's a great personal trainer right there.
Yeah, he was a great guy. He is a great guy. What am I saying? He's still around. But yeah, he did try to understand what it was, like where it was on my body, how it would possibly hinder me, because like it was, the whole bending thing was an issue for me. I didn't want to bend too much. I didn't want to lift too much. I was just pretty much like a mouse in a corner. So he also did help with that. He kind of pushed me a little bit more to get out of that corner, to try and do a little bit more. But he kept it within a reasonable pace. So it allowed me to feel comfortable. Someone was watching me, making sure I did not overdo it, but at the same time pushed me enough to where I would get the benefit of what I was trying to accomplish. So it was really good. I definitely understand why people would have to look for like a physical therapist or someone who knew about it, because the majority of people have no idea what it is. I did actually end up developing a peristomal hernia in the long run, because I was going from a lifestyle of complete sedentary lifestyle to trying to work out 5 to 6 times a week. So I probably
a little type A there, a little type A.
Yeah, I think I overdid it a little bit. So I recently did have surgery for that hernia. So that concern is a huge concern. And it was a concern for me in the beginning, but I didn't realize how easily a hernia could pop up.
Yeah. Yeah, it really can. I mean, you can get a hernia not in an ostomy and sneezing. Like some normal people, like we're not normal. So people without an ostomy, that can happen to them. You know what I mean? At any point in time. I just think about the Friends episode with Joey laying on the floor with his hernia, you know?
Yeah. I always thought it was like, oh no, because I don't know why I visualized like a baseball player like doing something wrong and having like a hernia or something like that. And it never really like hit me. Okay, you can have it too. Yeah. Until it actually happened.
Right. So I'm assuming I got it repaired, right?
I did get it repaired. I had the surgery in December. So have been out of the gym since then, and really not wanting to, again, kind of regressing to that like state of mind of like, let's not overdo it and push a little and too fast. Let's take it slower this time.
Yep. And you know, like, and slow is good. Even just, I mean, going for a walk every day is huge for your health. It's huge. It actually is a workout. One of my girlfriends, she's so like, we competed together. And if you're not running, you're not working out. And I look at her, she's like, you walk every day for 45 minutes and you count that as a workout. I go, I do. I burn 250 calories. It's going along with my activity. And guess what? It's helping me mentally. It's helping me keep the weight off. Like it's doing all the right things. You don't have to go crazy in the gym, although I do that too. But
I mean, it's funny because we think that walking is this activity that is non-productive, when in actuality it is probably extremely productive compared to that fast sprint that you're going to do in 5 minutes.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's that whole parable. The turtle is the turtle and the hare kind of thing. So, I mean, I look at it that way. When I really started to educate myself on nutrition and exercises and stuff, and you really get into it and you really look at it, you're like, wait, walking is better.
Yep. Walking is better. It's really good for you. It's really, really good for you. And like you said, I love what you said about, you started listening to your body. You started educating yourself on nutrition. I mean, it's great with doctors and all, but they're not taught nutrition. And so, they're just not. And, but having, learning for yourselves, listening to your body, understanding what foods work for you and what don't. There's we don't do that unless something happens to us, right? We're just eating because we're on the go all the time, or we're just too busy. But when we start to pay attention, like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can't have that. Okay. And then you try it again, a year later, you're like, oh, I can have it now. And it's amazing how your body can change. So you're feeling better, you look great, you're out on social media, you're meeting other ostomates, you're doing a community, you're doing amazing. You're doing amazing things. And if we're coming to a close here, and before we do, is a couple of things like, if there was one thing that you would want to say to the listeners who are ostomate sisters and brothers of yours, what would that thing be?
That having an ostomy is a way to get your life back under control. It may not be what you thought or what you envisioned, but it definitely is a new door opening up to help you, not hinder you.
I love that. And Chium, if people wanted to find you, if they wanted to find you on social media, or if they want to follow your journey, or where would the best place for them to do that be?
On Instagram, at Chium 816.
I love it. 8168. No worries. I will put it in the show notes, people. So so that way you can be like, okay, what is her handle? So I'll put that in the show notes too. And thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story with us today. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you enjoyed this podcast, get the behind the scenes at LeeAnneHayden.com/ostomy updates. And also, if you found this episode encouraging, please screenshot it and share it on Instagram. And don't forget to tag me and also the person who was on the episode with me. I occasionally will do special gifts for anyone who does do a screenshot and share it on Instagram or in your stories. Also, lastly, please go to Apple or Google, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to keep up with them every single week. I enjoy you guys. Thank you so much for being here.